Start the part 2 of fetus. So first we'll start with the crown rump length. So what is crown rump length and what is biparietal diameter? So let us see. If you remember, crown rump length is seen in first trimester. Biparietal diameter is seen in second trimester, right? So what are this in detail? Let us know. So first let us start with crown rump length. So the crown rump length is nothing but it's the distance between the vertex and the coccyx of the baby. So if you see the vertex and coccyx distance, that is called as crown rump length, and this is 6.5 plus 6.5 in the case of gestational age in weeks. So if you see the gestational age in weeks, it is plus 6.5, and if you see the gestational age in days, then it is plus 4.2. Okay, so it's plus 6.5 if you see the gestational age in weeks, and it's plus 4.2 if you see the gestational age in days. Now coming to the crown rump length, if it is increased, actually crown rump length increases 1 millimeter per day. It increases 1 millimeter per day, and the smallest crown rump length at which the embryo is visible, the smallest crown rump length at which the embryo is visible is 4 to 5 millimeters. So the smallest crown rump length is 4 to 5 millimeters. In plus 6.5 you will see the gestational age in weeks. In plus 4.2 you will see the gestational age in days. A crown rump length increases 1 millimeter every day, and at the smallest crown rump length which you can see in an embryo, it will be like 4 to 5 millimeters. Now if the crown rump length is greater than 7 millimeters but still there is no cardiac activity, then in this case you can say this is missed abortion, because still there is no cardiac activity but the crown rump length has increased, like from the vertex to coccyx the baby's body can be seen but no cardiac activity, so this is missed abortion. So now coming to what is biparietal diameter. The biparietal diameter mainly measures the distance from the outer table of the skull to the inner table. So outer table to inner table. In this we will use this biparietal diameter. So next you have a Hasse rule. What is Hasse rule? Hasse rule says that you can measure the fetal age. You can determine the fetal age by means of like fetal age if it is less than 5 months. If the fetal age is less than 5 months, then we need to square root the fetal length. Okay, and if the fetal age is greater than 5 months, then you need to do fetal length by 5. Okay, so like this you can know the gestational age to determine the fetal age. Okay, so to determine the fetal age, if the pregnancy is less than 5 months, then you underscore fetal length. If the pregnancy is greater than 5 months, do fetal length divided by 5. Okay, so now coming to fetal length measurement. So how to measure the fetal length? So we have understood how to determine fetal age. So how to determine the fetal length? If fetal length is less than 5 month pregnant, that is from vertex to coccyx, it is crown rump length. If the female is greater than 5 months pregnant, then you need to take the measurement from vertex to heels, and this is called as crown heel length. Okay, so what is crown rump length? From vertex to coccyx, if it is less than 5 months pregnant. If it is greater than 5 months, then you do measurement from vertex to heels, that is called crown heel length. So now coming to assessment of fetal weight and fetal growth. So you can assess the fetal weight. clinically by Johnson formula, and by ultrasound you can use the Hadlock and Shepherd. Now coming to fetal growth. So to determine the fetal growth, you use only one ultrasonographic parameter, that is abdominal circumference of fetus. So if you want to see the fetal weight, clinically use Johnson. For ultrasonography, you can use Hadlock or Shepherd formula. And if you want to know the fetal growth, by USG you can use the abdominal circumference of fetus. So when you are measuring the abdominal circumference in a plane, PUS structures are also visible. What is P? Portal sinus. What is U? Umbilical vein. And what is S? That is stomach. So all these structures can be seen in abdominal circumference of fetus. So abdominal circumference is the only parameter which tells us about the growth of fetus. So in this, if there is IUGR, then there is less growth, and if there is macrosomia, there is more growth. Next, coming to normally, we use the femoral length. We use femoral length in third trimester divided by abdominal circumference. Ratio is usually 20 to 24, and this ratio increase in IUGR, decrease in skeletal dysplasia. So these are the few important points. Now finally let us move on to fetal hematopoiesis. So in the fetal hematopoiesis, first it takes place in yolk sac, next followed by liver, next followed by bone marrow. So the first one is yolk sac till 6 weeks, bone marrow till 20 weeks, liver till 20 weeks, bone marrow also after 20 weeks. So this is after 20 weeks. So in the yolk sac, what type of hemoglobin is formed? Gower 1 hemoglobin, Gower 2 hemoglobin, Portland hemoglobin. So all this hemoglobin are formed. Now in the liver, there is hemoglobin F. In the bone marrow, there is hemoglobin A. So coming to the fetal erythrocytes. Fetal erythrocytes in early uterine life. The fetal cell is nucleated, the fetal RBC is nucleated, and it is macrocytic. That is, it is very big, so that is like about 180 femtons. Later the size drops to 105 femtoliters, but this doesn't happen in the case of aneuploid fetus. Okay, fetal erythrocytes are nucleated and they are macrocytic in the beginning, so 180 femtoliters. Later the size decreases to 105 femtoliters, but this is not going to happen in aneuploid fetus. Okay, and the second one is difference between fetal RBC and adult RBC. So if you see the fetal RBC, it is large in size. RBC is having a short lifespan. The short lifespan of about only 90 days. And next, coming to at the time of birth, the hemoglobin of baby will be about in the range of 16 to 18 grams per DL. And if you see, 75 to 80% of fetus is having HbF, that is hemoglobin F type, and only 20 to 25% it is having hemoglobin of A type. Okay, so now coming to by 6 months of age, if you see 6 months of age, the hemoglobin F will be only 1% in the fetus. Okay, so in the beginning it is 75 to 80%, but if you see by the 6 months it is only 1%. So now let us see what is the difference between actually this hemoglobin F and hemoglobin A. So hemoglobin F versus hemoglobin A. So hemoglobin F, it is having less 2,3 DPG, less 2,3 dpg. If you take hemoglobin A, it is having more 2,3 dpg. Next, coming to hemoglobin F, it is having low carbonic anhydrous, whereas hemoglobin A have more carbonic anhydrous. And coming to hemoglobin F, it is having higher affinity for oxygen. But if you see the hemoglobin A, it is having less affinity for oxygen. And next, coming to hemoglobin F, it is having resistance to acid and alkali. Whereas hemoglobin A, it is sensitive to acid and alkali, and this point we already discussed. So because of this resistance or sensitivity to acid and alkali forms a basis for two tests. One is the ABT test, also called Singer's alkali test, and another is the Kalbrad-Bedke test. So about this I discussed in previous video, so now I will not discuss it. So now let us see the major events. Major events in fetal development. So what are the major events in fetal development? So now mainly we will discuss this. So fetal gross body movements, like body movements in the fetus. You can see the body movements at 7 weeks. That is gonads formation, that is like either testis or ovary form in the 7th week. So that is gonadal formation. And glucagon synthesis starts on 8th week. Glucagon synthesis start on 8th week. And internal genitalia, like either in the case of male or female, internal genitalia will start on 10th week. So external genitalia, internal genitalia on 10th week, and breathing movements can be seen on 11th week. External genitalia in the case of female, you can see it on 12th weeks. In the case of male, you see on 14th week. Okay, so insulin production will start on 12th week. HP axis, that is hypophyseal gonadal axis, will start on 12th week. Hypophyseal pituitary axis will start on 12th week. And fetal urine will start forming on 12th week. And meconium production is also from 16 weeks or 4 months. And fetus produce IgM begins at 20 weeks. So all this we need to remember. And next you have IgM and albumin. This both will not cross the placenta. Whereas IgG is transported to fetus at 16 weeks. Surfactant production begins at 20 weeks, which is present in amniotic fluid at 28 weeks. So let me show this table to you, or like this flowchart to you, because there are like many events. You can pause this video at this flowchart and you can learn them one by one. So you can check out this and learn from this, because it's very big events, all this. Pause the video. So we'll start with the next one in the next video.